Good evening. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 52. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. And tonight, we have the honor of having Codey Gandy back on the podcast here as we celebrate also our 1-year anniversary of this podcast. Codey, what's going on, man?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me back.
I know, man. You were guest number 1 on episode 2.
Yes, sir.
And then you're on episode 3, I believe. Or did we do a debrief and then you were back on and then
yes,
a debrief? Yeah. Then you came back on about 6 months later when we were in town doing FTX and having you back on. So this is your 4th time on the podcast. You've now beat out Mike Mitchell for his 3 appearances.
It's not a contest, but I'm winning. So.
The enlisted Marine beating the officer once again. Lucas, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm excited for 1 year of the JP Dinnell podcast. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, man.
We bought a bunch of cupcakes to party for Codey, and he just wasn't having it. So he wanted to stay fit and ready for the FTX, which I understand and I can appreciate.
I also understand that if he was to eat 12 large cupcakes and 3 small cupcakes at 10 p.m., he'd probably have a hard time falling asleep. And then once you did, it would be a little rough to be waking up at 3:45 in the morning.
Allegedly,
Allegedly, we'll see.
It would make for a really exciting podcast, though. As that sugar spike just kind of took off in the middle. Do cupcakes count as sugar-coated lies?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. All right. Codey, what's new, my man? There's been a lot going on in your life in the last year, from your personal life with your family, Echelon Front. You've been training for a pretty cool event. What's going on with the family?
Family-wise, we are still out in Arizona enjoying that
nice
summer heat, and it's nice for me as I travel a bunch. I go anywhere else, and it is freezing for me, and it's 80 degrees, and I'm cold now. But no, Arizona's good. It's summer. It's hot, but we like the hot. Kids are enjoying it. We just transitioned to homeschool.
Nice.
So for my older boys who are 6 and 5, we pulled them out, probably 3.5 weeks ago. Made the transition, turned our front living space into a school for the most part. Got some desks, whiteboard, stuff like that. My wife Paige is taking lead on that, and I step in as the principal now and then.
Are you the principal, or Amanda likes to use me as a substitute teacher?
I am the principal or the dean, whatever.
That's amazing. Yes. How are the kids enjoying homeschooling?
So for us, the challenge was when we lived in California, my boys, we sent them to a preschool that was on a farm, and being boys, just going on doing boy stuff and transitioning to a traditional school 8 hours a day with your recess and lunch, but just a lot of time at a desk. Being little boys at that age, they just wanted to get up and out, and also living in Arizona, sometimes you can't go outside because it's 115, so being stuck inside, they could do it, but what we found is when they got home, it was just they were depleted. They were a mess, and anytime we tried to do anything, we had to separate them, do all this stuff, and it wasn't worth it. My wife was having a hard time with that, and I want to set her up for success when I'm gone, and when I'm home, I want my kids to have a good time. I don't want them to be miserable, and so the transition was relatively easy. My wife brought it up, and I had hesitation at first, not because I don't believe in homeschool or didn't want to do it, for my wife's sanity more than anything.
Yeah.
I was being a little protective of her. I was like, hey, I just want to make sure that you want to do this. Obviously, I'm in and out a lot. I'm here to support you whenever you want to do, but giving her the freedom, like, hey, if this is what you want to do, and before I could finish, this is what I want to do.
That's so awesome.
Happy to support on that, and it's been fun. It's been cool. I get to step in and teach, and obviously we teach at Echelon Front, and now I get to reteach basic fundamentals of writing and reading, and we can also thread in whatever we want to teach our kids,
which is incredible. I know you sent a picture of you were teaching them how to show people respect.
Yes, so we did just respect and what that is, what it means, and having my sons tell me what they think that means is pretty cool. Just being kind and helping your parents and helping my brother and sister, listening to people. That was really cool to see and hear, and obviously it's 5 and 6 year olds, so we're talking fundamentals, teaching them sir, ma'am, thank you, you're welcome, please, that type of stuff, which call it old school or military-esque, but I think, I'm 33 and I call you sir, I call everybody sir. I call my daughter, who's 2 2 and 4, I call them ma'am.
Yeah.
I just think it's my way to show respect, and so I want to teach that in them, and I think that's a skill that, you know, some people don't have these days, and that's unfortunate. Respect goes a long way, obviously, where we come from and just in general. So I want to instill that in my sons, and my daughter will probably homeschool sooner rather than later as well.
Awesome. That's great. I was super fired up when I found out you guys were doing it. I know Amanda was excited as well, just because we've seen the benefits of our kids being homeschooled, and they've done homeschool, they've done private Christian school, they've done regular school, they did a prep academy co-op type of thing. And what works best for our daughters is a homeschool program because of discipline equals freedom. That simple principle of discipline equals freedom is what allows our kids to have awesome days almost every single day.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they do their chores and they start knocking out school, like, they're good. Like, hey, you get what you need to have done within the day. You literally are free to do whatever else you want. You want to train jiu-jitsu every night and go do dance or do volleyball or whatever. Like, now, obviously, I understand we have that ability because our wives are stay-at-home moms.
Yes, sir.
And which is shout out to our wives for doing that and taking, you know, just lifting the heavy load on that with how much we're gone. But because we have that ability, it's 100% worth it for their growth and their development of the kids. Like you said, we get to add to teach them whatever we want, and we teach them about what we teach at Echelon Front. Like, our daughters are coming to the muster and working the muster. Like, that's what they look forward to. They get and be able to do it. I was just in Maine for 2 weeks at Origin Immersion Camp, and then the immersion camp for LEO for for police officers. And I was able to bring my family there because, one, now Aiden's, you know, he's 18, he's graduated, he's able to, you know, to do those things. But we had the freedom as a family to be like, cool, yeah, hey, you guys can come with me. Awesome. We don't have to go to school. We don't have to worry about that. Now they still worked on stuff while they were there. And, you know, I went for a walk with Cora the other night, and we were just talking, and, you know, her goal, her and Cora, I went for the walk with Cora. Her and Nola's goal, she told me, is they want to finish junior high in 1 year. So they want to complete 7th and 8th grade in 1 year.
Dang.
And that was their own idea. And I'm like, well, why would you want to do that? She goes, well, because then we'd have more free time, and I can graduate early, and I can, you know, I can do stuff with you for Echelon Front and learn more about what you guys do. And that's going to help me as I get older, as an adult. And, you know, whatever I do for work, or if I go in the military, or if I start a business, like, I just think it's going to set me up for success. And I'm like, holy crap. 12-year-old girl has things figured out because, you know, it's, you know, kids truly are, for the most part, a product of their environment. And you and Paige are creating an incredible environment for your kids. So I'm fired up that you guys get to do it. It's awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Any challenges that you and Paige think homeschooling is going to present, and you guys are kind of just thinking about ahead of time, or do you just think it's just going to be like, I don't know?
I think it's a couple of things, and obviously, like, we're new to it, and we're gaining insight, and Paige is in a lot of groups in the area. That's, you know, her world, and she likes to do that stuff, and, like, more power to you. Right now, my oldest daughter, who's 4, she sees her brothers doing that, and she wants in, and she's fearful that she's going to miss out and stuff like that, but she's in preschool, and we still want her to, she's still going to school 3 times a week for 3 hours, and so we just want her to get that feel of interaction and stuff like that. So
the FOMO that your daughter has isn't from being homeschooled and not being in school. She wants to be homeschooled to be able to do what her brothers are doing.
Yes.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
Because she sees the value in that.
Yeah.
I mean, she may not understand that there's value, but it appeals to her.
Yeah. And I think the biggest challenge, and I have no problem homeschooling my daughter as well, and my youngest daughter's 2, so it's not really preschool. It's go color on the wall for the most part is what's happening right now. But the challenge we have right now is you have a 6-year-old first grader curriculum, a kindergarten curriculum, and then to add another layer to that, you have 3 kids that my wife's trying to teach by herself, and then my 2-year-old who's doing 2-year-old stuff. That's hard to manage.
Yeah.
So it is right now when Oakley goes to school, Paige just schoolwork with the boys, and Lila's just hanging out doing her thing, and so that is helpful for her. And I think probably by the end of the year, Oakley will join up, and then we'll have 3 kids that are doing it, and Lila's just helping out. So that's
awesome.
the main thing right now. I know when we first started it, like there was this, not fear, but just sense of like, well, what about the social interaction and stuff like that? But there's so many extracurriculars that we can get into. The state of Arizona, you submit a package and basically you get funding to go do a bunch of stuff through vendors. So BJJ, rock climbing gyms, like whatever you could think of, you get basically a credit card for funds. You go through that and you can do all this stuff. So now we get to do a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Shout out to Arizona.
No joke.
Pulling up the Realtor app right now. Just like,
No kidding.
I believe it's called ESA. It's I'll have to confirm with the wife on that, but that's been a pro to help mitigate that, because I know, at least when I was a kid, it was always like homeschool kids are weird, right? Like because they don't have social interaction, but that's definitely not true. It's just a perception that I had.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like my boys just started baseball, my daughter's in gymnastics, and she's gonna do soccer, and the boys want to do football. Like they want to do all this stuff, and now in the middle of the day, like there's the rock climbing gym has homeschool hours, because it's a big thing in Arizona, and there's jiu-jitsu classes for homeschool hours. So we have a lot of ways to get them to have those social interactions. So I think that's powerful. I think the challenge when you don't have that interaction is they don't understand how to deal with people.
Yep.
And people can be challenging. They can be great. They can also be awful. And I would hate for them to, dive into whatever junior high and they go to school and they deal with a bully for the first time. Like that would be, I want them to learn how to handle that sooner rather than later. And also the benefit that friends and social circles can be. So we're mitigating that as much as we can. So I don't see, obviously it's the commitment and me and Paige aligning on what we want to do and being on the same page. That's the only potential friction, but I don't see any friction because her and I are aligned at the hip for,
everything.
all things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's wild. The credit card blows me away, dude. Like, I wonder if there's a program like that in Texas. We just don't know about it.
There might be. I mean, Texas is a legitimate state when it comes to benefits for the residents.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know, like if you're a disabled veteran in Texas, if you're over a certain amount, your property taxes go away.
Really?
Yeah.
We just found out, because we had some students who were getting ready for college, that if you've got ADD or ADHD, whatever, they're combined it all now. I don't remember which acronym they're using. But the Texas Workforce Commission will pay for a portion of your college and buy you a laptop and some other stuff. And like, I don't know how many students we sent to school without that, and one of the parents found out about it, and that kid is getting a ton of her school paid for by the state because of that.
Dude, see, that's awesome.
Yeah. But the homeschool credit card, because
Either a credit
our
card or
kids
just
are
a fund. I'm
yeah,
not
well, the
100%.
homeschool fund. So our kids are about to be like, we're moving into that in the next few years. If there's a way to get free Formiga for Levi with the homeschool card, I'm so in.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's one of the things that we've done with the kids is made sure that they had extracurricular activities, whether it's with other families that are homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Strasburger, his wife Jen homeschools their kids, and so like we would go do something with their homeschool groups that they knew of, or meet up and go do stuff. And it's just really cool. There's a homeschool community out there, which is, and that's the cool thing with social media now is you can be a part of these groups and you can figure out, all right, cool. These people are awesome. These people are weird. Like I'm going to hang out with the awesome people. I'm going to avoid the weird groups. Like, cause there's awesome and weird people in every organization, every group, every community. And just the power of being able to homeschool your kids is, I think more and more people are going, oh, no, that's exactly what I want to do. If you have the ability to, I think it's a great thing.
Yes, sir.
So that's a lot to take on that your wife has taken on, which has been awesome. But like you said, you guys are aligned at the hip with everything. And she allows you to travel as much, not like as in she gives you permission, but if she wasn't able to step in and do what she did with your kids, you would choose not to be gone as much because that's the right thing to do. But because she is an incredible rock star and steps into those roles and takes on those things so that you can do what you do at Echelon Front, what have you been focused on in regards to building out and expanding the field training exercise program?
Man, this year's been a whirlwind. We've had a couple new people join the team. We have Justin, who started off as a role player and then took over as the lead there, and now he sells all the FTXs and also selling first responder stuff, which has been crucial. I mean, before, back in the day when it was you and I, we didn't really have a sales team that was handling all this stuff. It's just hopefully information got to us, and then we would be in contact and stuff like that. So having someone that's, first contact to get them in the door, and Justin knows this program in and out just like we do. You have a subject matter expert that can explain what it is and what it is not. I know for years we've had the hurdle of people have thoughts on what the FTX program is. They see the laser tag, they see, Navy SEALs and Marines, and they think barbed wire and sprints and burpees, and it's just leadership training, right? And how we choose to teach leadership at Echelon Front is through the FTX program, because that's what we know, but we can honestly go outside and dig ditches and learn the same concepts, because, stress is stress regardless of the environment. So having a couple of key players in place with Justin and Josh helping out logistically, and now Heather stepping in. So now we're having a team of people, whereas before it was just you, and then it was you and I, and now we're having some people that can help support that. So that's been extremely helpful. We're also branching out and doing different things. So obviously we have the individual FTX, which we are doing today, tomorrow, and Friday, but also attaching FTXs to musters, which I think this was the first year we did that earlier this year in San Diego.
It sold out quick.
Yeah. I think it's an awesome concept. I know we were trying to prove proof of concept to make sure that it worked. But I mean, you spend 2 days with Jocko, the rest of us, straight from the horse's mouth. You get all the context, and then the very next day you get to go test out your ability to implement. And what I thought was interesting is I didn't know how it was going to go. I was like, these people have been listening for like 16 hours straight, and most of them have read the book and done all the stuff. And then we'd watch, the first run and the debrief, and it would just go south quick. And it just proves that they're very simple to understand. They're very simple to even connect the dots. They're very hard to execute on. Just because of the human tendency in itself. So trying a bunch of different stuff here. We're growing the program, trying to think of different ways to reach people, and traveling all over the U.S. And I know you guys are going up to making this an international FTX program. We're going to
a few weeks.
Yes, sir.
Doing our first FTX internationally.
So yeah, I got no complaints. We've been busy, man. We did I think 4 or 5 last month.
Yeah.
So
what's been your main focus strategically for the growth of that program that you think is a universal thought process and or something that somebody can take from this episode and apply to growing their company and or department?
Yeah, I think for me it's establishing no single points of failure in our team. And I know obviously this starting with you trained me up to where I could run it, and now we probably have more than half the team that can run an FTX.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the teaching that the other instructors don't know how to do. It's just seeing the logistics and the scenarios and all the ins and outs of that. Some of the team hasn't had exposure yet, but getting people out, Dave's been out before. We have Danny, we have Carlos, we have Sean, we have Matt. Rob's been out. So we have all these people that have come out to where you're not there, no factor.
Yeah.
I'm not there, no factor. Yeah. And even though we both came from this, and you oversee and I'm the director, like, we don't need to be there, which is a really nice place to be. I think a teaching point on that is you may be in charge of something, but you don't have to always be involved.
Yeah. It was crazy. For me, it was a bittersweet feeling. The first week of the immersion camp, we had immersion camp blocked off on the calendar, and then an FTX get booked that week. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this has been blocked off. But then it was a very quick realization of, I don't have to be there. It was like the date that worked for the client, and it worked for you. So cool. Awesome. You guys ran the FTX without me, and you've run a lot of FTXs without me. And it's just been cool seeing how you've also developed other members of the team to where, let's just say it's a different Echelon Front instructor who's not familiar with how the FTX runs because they just haven't been on a bunch of them or any of them. They don't need to know how the FTX program logistically works. Mm-hmm. All they have to be able to do is show up, watch, observe, and give their debrief points and teaching points based off of what we teach. So if I had never been to an FTX, I could show up tomorrow, and Justin and Josh and the FTX team are going to be like, hey, here's your packet, here's your notebooks, here's the runs, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're trying to get from this run, boom, boom, boom. Here's a common debrief points based off of this, blah, blah, blah. And I could sit there and go, all right, cool. And because I know the principles of what we teach at Echelon Front, I can watch a run, say, okay, boom, they had issues with communication and decentralized command. And that's my main focus as instructor. So for you as a leader, you've done a phenomenal job growing your team to be able to do those logistical things that are tactical wins for the strategic win. And the team also is thinking strategically. So as a leader, what have you been focused on to help grow Justin and Josh and the other guys' strategic mindset?
I think one, it's aligning with, what I'm striving to do, what you're striving to do, what the team is trying to do. Like Echelon Front has a vision, you and I have a vision, and if my vision and your vision are on opposite sides of the spectrum, like we're not aligned and we're going to pull the team in two different ways. So one, it's constant communication, effective communication on, what Jocko and Leif's vision is for the team and what you and I think the best way to do that is, and driving that down the team. So keeping them in the know, explaining why we do things, that's crucial. I think the why is something that we often forget. We assume that people know why we're doing things, but when you don't communicate that why, they come to that why on their own, and typically that's when bad things happen. So keeping the team aligned, and then for me specifically, it's just giving those guys more power. So Jocko said this at the council recently from a decentralized command mindset is you should do the things only you should do. And I started to think about that from an FTX perspective. There's so much stuff that needs to be done, and the team can do it. If I do my job and set them up for success, like they can do all these things. Mm-hmm. The one thing that most of the team can't do right now is they can't instruct because they're not instructors. But there's classes that we teach. There's debrief points that can be hit. Like the guys have that capability, and it's not fair for me to stifle their growth by doing all these things when they're more than capable. Yeah. So for me, just stepping up, giving them more power, giving them more control, training, teaching, mentoring, like that's my role, and that's a strategic mindset as well, because it's gonna happen sooner or later when we have not only 2 but 3 FTXs to where it's I'm going somewhere, you're going somewhere, Carlos is going somewhere, or whoever, and we physically can't all be at the same place at one time. So just growing the team, growing their decision making space and giving them more ownership is something we're striving to do.
One of the things that we do at Echelon Front is we debrief everything. We bring in the FTX team after runs and do a debrief. At the end of the day, we're always doing a debrief in regards to like what was good, what can we improve, what are you guys taking from it. And it's been cool to watch the growth of the FTX role players. Now, we talked about Justin. He's in a full-time position. Josh is helping out with all the FTXs and the operations and the roll calls and the musters and everything else like that. And, as the team program grows, like that full-time position for him is going to be available in the near future, we hope, which there's no reason why it shouldn't if we continue growing, which has been awesome because now you're seeing the benefits of the program growing and how it has a positive impact with people that take advantage of that opportunity. They're not expecting it. They're working hard for it, which has been great to see those guys. But then like guys that we just know will not in the near future, now maybe in the distant future, but in the near future, they're not coming on full time. Jesse Rembert's not able to. He's a full-time Denver SWAT guy. Yeah. Brian Vigilone, BVIG's, full-time state trooper on the East Coast. He can't come on full time, but he helps, right? James Gonzalez, he's has a gym and a business and other priorities with Jiu-Jitsu and taking over one of the businesses from his with his father-in-law. Yeah. Think about the growth that James has had from when he first came out to be a role player, and now because of him being in an environment with these principles and debriefing and thinking and talking through it, he's in a position now where it's like he was already leading and growing his gym well, but you can see there's been an increase. There's been a positive increase. Got married, it's a positive increase in his life, and what he's going to be doing with the businesses with his father-in-law is incredible. Aaron, acquiring companies. Now, he was already in the process of that before he was helping us out with FTXs, but Aaron Coulter is in the game when it comes to these principles. He's listening, he's taking notes, and multiple times he's like, I can't wait to have Echelon Front come work with my company. He goes, these companies I acquire, Echelon Front's going to work with them because he sees the value in it. Who else am I missing from our consistent OG crew?
We've had Joe Rana come out to a bunch.
Yeah, Joe Rana seen a positive increase in his career in the Marine Corps. Yeah. And he gives testament to the principles, him implementing the principles. He just put on 7, which is awesome. And so none of these guys are going to come and work for us full time anytime soon. Now, maybe, hopefully, Jesse and BVigs when they retire, that would be awesome. But they're still able to implement the principles, and they're implementing them because of the opportunity you've given these guys and what you've poured into them. So I think another takeaway for our leaders from that would just be intentional with the people you're pouring into.
I think to your point too, the debrief, obviously very classic, simple thing that a lot of us should strive to do. I don't think people understand the value it can bring or don't make it a priority. I mean, as you know, we debrief literally everything. It's the logistics involved in the hotels and the flights, and it's obviously the leadership instruction that we're giving. It's the FTX, what we're doing. It's everything. And I think a lot of people miss the mark on that. We just assume that people are aware of the success that we're having or the failures, so we don't need to talk about it. If you don't capitalize on that and capture that momentum and those lessons learned and share that cross-functionally across an organization, then you're setting your team up to fail or you're inhibiting them from being successful. At the FTX, like, the whole reason we go on runs is to have a debrief. All we want to do is talk about it. And so I wrote this down the other day. I was thinking about debrief, and some of the stuff we teach, like, we have to convince people to do it. I talked about this earlier, like the read back. I told the FTX attendees, like, I will convince you to use the read back because it is a powerful tool that you overlooked. The debrief, right? When I look at it from an FTX Echelon Front or life perspective, I mean, me and my wife debrief, the days, like, that's what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, you're going to make the same mistakes, or you're going to have a harder time being successful. One, it shows you areas of training, right? So when I debrief the FTX guys and they're showing me, the holes or things that we need to work on, like, okay, cool. I need to work with Justin on this. Like, Josh needs this. Like, these are ways that I can help him. So identifying training needs is huge because people need training. I need training. You need training. Mm-hmm. That's crucial. You identify safety issues. Safety is a metric that a lot of people track. And if you want to get more safe, you want to have less safety incidences, you got to debrief to capture those lessons learned. I talked about successes and failures. Those are pretty straightforward. You can set your team up for success, or you can set up your coworkers, your peers, other people across an organization to be successful by sharing what's working, and also failures. Hey, I failed. You don't have to fail as well. Mm-hmm. I can share that with you. Other metrics, obviously effectiveness, efficiency, innovative new ideas. You're solving problems, but I think the easiest thing to understand is whatever you're trying to do in a debrief, you're striving to keep things more simple. And I think I learned that, in the military, that's military 101. When you clear a house, when you debrief, you're trying to make things more simple, because more simple is more effective and more efficient. And at the FTX, we're trying to make the runs more simple so that people understand. We're trying to make the teaching points more simple so that the comprehension level is higher. And so I think the debrief, we underestimate it, but it's a powerful, powerful tool for any context, any environment, family dynamic, work, coworkers, podcasts like this. Like, if you are not debriefing, if you're not making a priority, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities to be more successful.
Yeah, and that ties into innovate and adapt.
100%.
As you debrief things and you talk through things, you should always be striving to find what I just heard you say, better versions of what you're currently doing. So,
yes, sir.
I love that. So you and Danny have been primarily focused on also building out a first responder program and helping just get the message and the training to our first responders. Danny's done a really good job over the years getting repeat business from the first responder community. What would you attribute that to?
I think it's been, so the first responder program started probably 2 years ago. I kind of stepped in there, we didn't have anybody. Danny was on the team. We didn't have any first responders. My background's not first responder, but my dad's been a cop for 30 plus years. Obviously, paramilitary organization. A lot of us could have stepped in that role, but I was the newer person on the team. And so jumping into that, I think what's helped me, and then now helping Danny more than anything, Danny's a subject matter expert. Yep. And so he has a lot of experience. He can talk the language. He understands the verbiage, the dynamics of what they deal with, which, you and I, we understand A little bit, but it's not the same. Military first responders is definitely not the same. In my opinion, they have a way tougher job. As you and I both have said, you know, in the military, you deploy for 6 months or 9 months, you come back and train. Those guys are deployed 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And under extreme scrutiny, specifically now more than ever. And so I think for Danny specifically, being a subject matter expert and also just the repetition that he's gained, you start to understand what works and what doesn't work as an instructor, whether that's with construction, whether that's with, you know, financial side, with first responders. There's things that like you have to say to bring a group in, and there's things that you can't say or you shouldn't go down because you're going to spur the group away. And so for Danny, who started, you know, doing first responder stuff for Echelon Front, he's had a lot of time with them. He knows what works and what doesn't work, and he's capitalizing on that. And when you can show somebody who has a very tough job proof of concept on, hey, man, when I was a firefighter working as a SWAT medic across agencies, this is what I did and it helped me, that's hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to say? Like, you don't understand? Like, he absolutely understands. So he's been there and done that, which is an awesome thing to have.
And that's what's been the unique dynamic with the first responder community that we work with is when I work with a financial company or a pharmaceutical company, I almost never get, you don't know what it's like. I've never had that except for working with first responders where they're like, you don't know what it's like. And my response always is like, you're right. I don't. But here's what I've been through that's very similar. If what I'm hearing you say is this is what I've dealt with. And all the other first responders I've worked with, these are the, and so it takes a little bit longer to get them to understand like, oh, he actually does understand. But Danny has that ability to build that relationship. And I love that's what you said is like, he is a subject matter expert. He's able to relate to them faster. And that is a testament to the power of relationships. And, you know, Danny is a phenomenal instructor when it comes to building relationships and following up and you know, and doing all the things that we all do, but he just does a very good job at it, you know, and it's been cool to see the repeat work that he gets from first, because that was never like a common thing.
It's tough, yeah.
And so he's obviously doing something special and different to get that repeat business at a much higher level than we'd ever really seen before. And I think it's a testament to the power of the relationships that he's developed and he builds based off of what you're saying, because he can come in and speak the language, but he also has the ability to tie in what we teach. Now, the little asterisk there is any one of our instructors can go work with a first responder group. Like I know Jamie Cochran has worked with police officers and first responders. She's a female that was never in the military and never worked as a first responder. Yet she can still teach at the same level that all the instructors teach at because she knows our information. Yeah. And she's a really, really good listener. She'll listen, she'll analyze, process, connect the dots. And what's cool is at Echelon Front, we've always done this is, hey, if there's ever a point where you don't know the answer, tell them that. Say, hey, you know what? Actually, I don't have a good answer for you, but I'll figure it out. I'll find it. And so it's just been really cool to watch that program grow, to see what Danny's done with it. And I know he has some awesome ideas this coming year and next year that he wants to roll out. You know, he's created some pretty cool relationships with the Why Did You Stop Me Now?
Yep. Why'd you stop me?
Oh, sorry. Why'd you stop me?
Yes, sir.
Explain that to some of our listeners, because I think it's a cool little partnership that Danny is a part of.
Yeah, it was a gentleman, Jason Lehman, that, you know, came out to a muster, and, you know, Danny and I met. Danny took lead, started to build a relationship. He's a retired police officer from Long Beach, and started a program, a company called Why'd You Stop Me? Basically, you know, sharing perspective from both sides, from cop to civilian, civilian to cop. Very interesting group context. First responder training needed, just like training is needed for, you know, every occupation out there. But now Danny and him, they spearhead just a dual day where Jason will do his curriculum and then Danny will do our curriculum on the back end, or vice versa. And what's cool is that's a very unique partnership. Not a lot of organizations, teaching standpoint, align truly aligned with what we do, and it's a pretty seamless transition to where Danny's not teaching the opposite. He's teaching stuff that supplements what Jason's talking about. So that's been really cool. They're going up and down the coast of California, getting into some conferences and stuff like that. So it's really awesome to see what he's built over there.
And credit to Jason for his humility of the fact that he's out there teaching these things, doing these things with us. He signs up for every muster.
Yep.
And he shows up and he's in the front row, listening, taking notes. He's in the game. So it's been really cool to see that grow and develop and what Danny's done with it. And I mean, you've obviously, with your background with your dad and as law enforcement for over 30 years, like that's got to make you happy.
100%. Yeah.
So,
dude, this program is cool. I'm looking at this right now. One of the things that they've got on their homepage, on the Why Do You Stop Me homepage, is that there was an article that was done about Jason in the New York Post. And the headline is, "Officer who killed suspect now teaches cops and kids how to get along." And it's got, as you scroll down, like some of the badges of, the Las Vegas Police Department, the Austin Police Department, and all of these, like, just huge agencies that they've trained. But his story and how it got going, like why he started that, just skimming it, is pretty freaking incredible, man.
Yeah. I remember he told me a brief overview when I first met him, and I was like,
holy smokes. Yeah, no kidding.
We talked about your family and, what Paige has been doing with homeschooling and everything. And I'm just curious for our listeners, your social media page is awesome when it comes to content for being a good husband, being a good father, being a good Echelon Front instructor and leader, because you show all different aspects. It's not just one side, and that's what you chose to do, and which I think is awesome. And here's the other deal. You and I have friends that share nothing on social media, and I fully respect that.
Yeah.
I actually can see their perspective a lot of the time, to be honest. But what have you been focused on in regards to your growth as a husband?
Man, my growth as a husband.
I guess we should interview Paige about that one, right?
Kidding. I think the biggest thing this year, we're on year 7. Dude, so awesome. With 4 young kids, 6, 5, 4, and 2. The biggest thing, and it's something that we always strive to work on, is just making time for us. I think with me being gone so much, it's easy to make the excuse that, and I go back home and now we have kids and now we're homeschooling, like the kids take up the day, but she's my wife and she came first, and we're not here to pick sides or anything, but like I have to make my wife a priority, because if it's just all work and then it's all kids and I leave no time for her, she starts to feel that neglect. I take things for granted. You get complacent in a marriage, and I never want that to happen. So for me specifically, it's prioritizing time. It's making time for just me and her, and we do that in a variety of ways. We had a really hard time with allowing other people to watch our kids. We live in Arizona. My wife has a sister out there, and that's it. So we don't have any other family, and we're a little uneasy at first on letting kids watch our young kids with Bear, who has seizures, and Lila with what happened to her, and so rightfully so, we just
I was just say I think that's understandable.
So we didn't want to branch out, and also we didn't really want to burden anybody. Like, it's 4 kids under 6, like it's a lot for us, and we do this full time. So finding some balance, getting some babysits in there to do that, and that's where we do like some formal dating and stuff like that. But we're constantly finding ways to spend time together, even when it's just the little things. And I'm not talking about, watching TV together. Like, I don't think that's quality time. That is time, but like, what are we doing with that time? So for us, we go to the gym together, and, some days we work out together, and, sometimes she wants to work out with me, and then she regrets it because I like to do stupid stuff. And sometimes I work out with her, and I'm like, I really don't want to do this, but it's not about what we're doing. It's like we're doing something together. And so finding ways like that, and it's little things. And I don't think you have to do these grand gestures to, build your relationship. I think people think you have to do these, vacations, and you got to go on dates, 7 times a month. Like, would that be nice? Absolutely. But for my world, like, that's not realistic. When the kids go to bed, we have 2 hours together. Like, what are we going to do with that 2 hours? Like, we're going to talk about the day. We're going to talk about what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to schedule out the month, because our calendars, we live and die by our calendars. And she wants to go on we just went on a trip to San Diego for my birthday. Like, we talked about that a month prior. Like, hey, I want to make time for this. Like, cool, let's block it off on the calendar.
Yeah.
So for us, it's just being aligned. And I know I say aligned a lot with Paige. Like, as in a marriage, I don't think there's like that's what you have to be. Like, if I'm not aligned with her, like, bad things are gonna happen. Not only for us, but for our kids. Because if you have we've all been there as parents where it's team mom versus team dad. That just creates friction and frustration between us and also the kids. So nobody should pick sides. The funniest thing my kids always say when they try to do that is me and Paige's response is, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
And they typically don't like that answer. Like, they want someone to, rule with them. But the reality is like, oh, cool. Like, no, like, we're on the same team. We're on the same page. So for us being aligned, making time, like, have to make time, have to make it a priority. Otherwise, it's easy to let that get away, which is not acceptable.
I think that ties into my next question was your growth as a father. I mean, you've been very intentional also with finding that balance with your kids, but the wife comes first. Your spouse should always come first.
Yep.
Because 100%. If that falls apart, your family falls apart.
Yep.
So, what are you looking to instill into your kids this year?
Ooh, my kids this year, I think for us, we have some. It's funny, you talked about core beliefs tonight at the FTX. Some core beliefs that we have, from a family perspective. I think everybody has their traditions. Everyone has their beliefs, what you teach your kids. For us, respect. It's ironic you talked about that. Like, I want my kids to have respect. Like, if nothing else, like, being a respectful person could get you far in life. And I think the second thing, is honesty. When I teach ownership to clients or attendees, I talk about how it's our hardest tendency to overcome and why it's the hardest tendency. As kids, we learn real quick that blaming someone or hiding something is the easier route, because when you blame or hide, potentially you get out of trouble and you get out of consequences, and nobody likes consequences regardless of who you are. Yeah. And so for me, like, they're young kids, like, they make mistakes, they do dumb stuff, bad things are going to happen. And so for us, we're trying to instill in them the concept of honesty and ownership. That's what I want to focus on this year, because if they can master that, I say master lightly because this is a skill. If they can learn this skill and learn the benefits of being an honest person that takes responsibility, that can get them far in life. So we're working through the kinks on that. Look, they're kids, they're going to test the waters, they're going to test their boundaries. And for me, it's, how I respond. If my kid lies and I bring the hammer, like, he's going to associate fear with that. And people that are afraid of stuff, they hide things, and I don't want that. So that's something we're going to focus on this year. Respect, you got honesty, discipline. When I get to teach the homeschool curriculum, which right now it's math and language arts, I'm good at math. I don't like math, but I'm just decent at it for whatever reason. Yeah. And so I involved a lot of physical activity in how I teach. So when my oldest son gets answers right, I'll do an exercise that he wants me to do.
Nice.
And if he gets it wrong, then he does an exercise. So they like to enjoy the game aspect of that. And we always incorporate physical activity, which I'm not trying to associate punishment with physical activity. I just want to make things fun. Yeah. I think when you can associate fun with exercise, that's a good habit to build.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're good at math. Your grandfather was very good at math.
He sure was.
Yeah, he was. Okay, so something I love that you're doing with your kids, I'd love for you to elaborate on what kicked off the thought process behind going and visiting different baseball stadiums. Like, now I know you love sports and you love baseball, but there's more to that. So explain to our listeners what you're doing, what you started to do, and what you plan on doing. Because I know you posted about it on social media.
Yep. So I'm a huge sports person. Everybody has their things that they like. I was that weird kid in middle school where I could tell you every stat from like every team. I would watch SportsCenter like 3 times in a row so I could be that kid. My oldest son is like that as well. He is obsessed with sports. All he wants to do is watch. All he wants to do is play. And, we have that connection. And so I grew up in that world, obviously playing football, baseball, growing up around sports. Like, it's just, I love the competition aspect more than anything. It's not the stardom or the players. Like, I just love watching people compete because I like to compete. Yeah. And obviously now, at this ripe young age of 33, I don't really compete as much anymore, so I live vicariously through other people. But
so young, so young.
So what I decided to do is, after my boys graduated this last year, we went on a trip. And I was trying to decide on a trip, and my sons are both into sports, and, it's a boy thing, right? Sports in itself. So what I decided to do the next, 30 years roughly, because there's 30 MLB teams, is to go to a stadium each year. So we just went up to Seattle. We made a weekend of it, took both my boys to the Mariners game, which it was a downpour, which weird, never happens in Seattle, right? So walking through the city of Seattle where it's getting rained on, we went to the Space Needle, we went to the zoo, we went to the aquarium, we got to do all this fun stuff. And what I want to do more than anything is just create memories with my kids. I think when I first started to be a dad, it was always like the new toy that I could buy, and just to see their joy in their eyes, but they play with it for a week and then it's gone. Yeah. And, I look back at my childhood, I don't remember any toys or anything like I had, maybe one or two things, but I remember the experiences that I have. So I want to build these experiences, and it's things that they can remember, that I can remember, but it's also time for us just to be together. And obviously now we're not having, deep conversations about life and stuff like that. Like they're worried about, the soda or the cotton candy they're going to get. But eventually, through this bond, you talked about relationships. Like I want to build a strong relationship with them. So eventually, when they're 15, 16, they're going through something tough. Like this is an outlet that they can have. I always want to be an olive branch, a support system. I am the dad in this scenario, but I want them to feel like they can come to me at all times, regardless of what's going on. Even if it's a tough thing to talk about, I still want to be that outlet. So providing opportunities where there's an escape and there's still an opportunity to build a relationship, I want to be able to build that through experiences. So that's the plan with the boys. I'll probably do something with the girls when they get a little older, something similar but different. But
whatever it is that they like, right?
Yeah,
because it won't matter to you. It's you getting spent. How do you balance all this out? If I promise you, there's a listener right now going, "There's no way I could do all that." They want to, and we get a decent amount of questions about how do you do this and how do you balance this, or how does your wife allow you the work-life balance, and how do you get alignment with your wife to allow you to do all these things, and what advice would you give to somebody that's listening saying, man, I really want to do that. I don't know how I could balance that time-wise.
I think even the simple, like to Lucas's point, the work-life balance, that concept, a lot of people think the 50-50 split, it's a 50-50 split. And that's where you're going to mess up, and you're going to set yourself up for failure. It's not a 50-50 split. Even my situation, I'm gone more days in the year than I'm home. So it can't be 50-50. So I always like to look at it, and this only doesn't apply to family, but to work and whatever I do, is when I'm there, when I'm in something, I'm 90%, 98% in. And I leave the 2% because, look, if my wife calls me and says we're going to the hospital, I'm not going to ignore that. I'm going to cover down. I'm going to take a break, etc. Yeah. So I'm all in as much as I can be in whatever that I'm doing. So when I'm here at the podcast, I'm here. Mm-hmm. When I'm at an FTX, I'm at an Echelon Front event, I'm there. I'm doing those things. And then when I'm home, it's the same thing. Now, do I have calls and schedules and stuff like that? But it's also on me to understand that, hey, I've been gone for 2 weeks. I have to make time when I get home. So being aware, not oblivious to the situation I'm putting on my family, to make time then when I get home. And then when I am home, I have to make the most of it. And that doesn't mean, I'm half-assing it on my phone, not taking it seriously. Yeah. I would hate to be the dad that their kids, they associate he's here, but he's not really here. Or for me specifically, I would hate for when I come home and I'm there for a while that my kids want me to leave again. Because why is dad even here? He's not really here. And so I always try to find, the way I balance it is when I'm home, and we go do stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds like a lot we just drove 6 hours to San Diego with 4 kids. Is it a lot? Absolutely. Yeah. But, life is not easy. These things aren't easy. If it was easy, anybody could do it. Yeah. But it's not. It's hard. And so I choose, the hard path, but it's worth it.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you saying is being a good parent requires intentionality.
Yes, sir.
Because I have noticed that about you since day one of you being a father, and day one from you being a husband. You were very intentional with those relationships and those roles, and you take them serious. So that's awesome, man. Talk about taking things serious. You have a lot on your plate, yet you decided you wanted a little more because
Why not?
Well, sometimes it's the right thing.
Yes.
We do the right things for the right reasons, and you saw an opportunity to provide awareness to an issue in the first responder community. So talk to us a little bit about the To Honor Those program that Echelon Front has that you spearheaded with Rob Jones. What sparked it? There was an incident, and then you had a thought. You reached out to Jocko, Leif, myself, and then...
Yeah, so it stemmed off, a lot of people reach out to us when things go wrong. Obviously, being a, mostly former military organization, first responders reach out to us about the, the dynamics of what they deal with, et cetera. And I had a gentleman reach out about, we dealt with the loss of life and looking for something for you guys to do. And, I had, Leif sent us some stuff and recorded some videos and stuff like that. And I started to think about, what else could we do? And so I thought of, it's not what we can do, it's what I can do. Because as much as, it would be easy to pass the buck and be like, hey, Jocko, Leif, like, you guys should do something. Like, that's,
Yeah, you guys should do something.
It's just something.
Just anything.
And so I wanted to help solve this problem. And part of solving problems is coming up with a solution. So my idea was basically to do a physical event. And this physical event would be to drive awareness and funds to help source a problem. And so this started off as, just me kicking ideas around, eventually turned into, I'm going to run a marathon. And I'm going to run a marathon with a 25-pound vest just because, that's what...
The normal marathon isn't going to be difficult enough.
I've never ran a marathon or more than, 10 miles, so why not do it with a vest on? That's not the point. But the reason of the event is we wanted to do something where people can actually do something with us. I know when it comes to... people donate to donate, but also people donate and they want to be a part of something. So this is being a part of something bigger. And so To Honor Those, that was the name that I came up with. And what To Honor Those means is, for me, that's pretty simple. I like to honor those that came before me, from the Marine Corps, from the military, et cetera. I want to honor those that are serving right now and honor those that are coming after me. And I know that's very military-esque. Obviously, I come from the military, but you can honor anybody. I think everybody has somebody that has sacrificed something for them. And so I'm honoring, my colleagues. I honor you. I honor my wife. I honor my kids, my family. Like, I need to honor someone, every single day because they've given up something for me to be here and what I'm doing right now. And so the marathon, it's to raise funds for first responders, military. People need to go to our musters. So to get leadership training, all the cost for the ticket will be covered. And basically, I'm running a race. It's a virtual race, so you don't have to physically attend. You can do this wherever you're at. You can do this, Lucas, in the parking lot right outside.
Do I have to physically run the race, or could I have, put on my Oculus and have my meta self do it since it's a virtual race?
So you don't have to do a marathon. You can do a half marathon, 10-5. You can do a 1K.
That sounds doable.
Just do something.
Do a 5K.
I think I could do a 5K on my bike.
No. We're going to walk, jog, run a 5K.
There you go.
We will walk, jog a 5K. I'm taking a run out of it.
David's in. So you're out now?
Yep.
Okay, you're in. Cool. So he's in for a 5K.
Perfect.
At least.
For a walk, jog.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Backtrack.
Sorry.
Backtrack. Rob, who you just had on, is doing this with me. And
Jones.
when I thought of the idea, I immediately was like, well, I want somebody to do this with me because if I'm going to suffer, I want to make other people suffer, right? I texted Rob and it was pretty straightforward. I was like, I just texted him, are you in or are you out? He's like, of course I'm in. And then I let him know and he's like, all right, we're doing this.
Yes.
So Rob and I, we're most likely going to run it up in Virginia. The big Iwo Jima monuments up there. So we're going to end there, be able to capture some footage. But him and I are going to do it together, but everybody else, you can sign up. You can do it virtually wherever you are. And basically how this works is, we'll have a link. We'll be able to put it in there. It's going to go live tomorrow, September 5th or Friday, September 6th. You pay $50. You get we have a challenge coin, which you only get for signing up for the race. To honor those is on there. And you get this sweet shirt that Jen
nice
Tarantino
shirt.
and Carrie Hilton design.
So if you're not listening or watching on YouTube, you should open this up in YouTube.
Yeah. Are there tiers to this? Like, do you, if like for instance, if I do the 1K, do I get like the challenge coin and the shirt, or is it the 1K? Like when we did jump rope for growing up as a kid, like if you didn't do very much on the jump rope, then you got like the eye supported wristband, and then like you've got to do the full marathon in order to get all the gear. Or is it just the
No, so we thought about that. We were going to do different tiers, and I think eventually if this becomes an annual thing, we'll have, different things that you can get. But for now, like, it's not about the tiers, it's about just doing something for somebody. And so regardless of what you do, half full, like, I don't expect most people to do full. Like, I'm just wired that way. So you can do whatever you want, and you still get everything. So you get the coin, you get a shirt, and you also get 2 free live sessions, which we have, the Academy at Echelon Front. Rob and I will do a pre-session and a post-session. Nice. Just, leadership, cool. Literally open to whatever people want to talk about. So that's on there as well.
That's all. And when
for how much?
$50.
$50, and they get access to you and Rob on virtual sessions?
Yes, sir.
As a group?
Yes.
Still, that's incredible.
That's huge.
And the shirt and the coin, like, wait, hold on, we're losing money here.
Joke. When is it? Did you say?
So me and Rob are going to run on November 23rd and 24th. So that's the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Okay. 23rd and 24th, or either or?
Either or.
Yes, okay, I was like, bro.
Yeah, and then how big is the window open for people who want to do it virtually? Is it just those 2 days, or is it like open more?
If you sign up on the website, all that information will be spread out for you. I think the last day of registration is October 30th. I could be wrong on that. It's on the website, but all that's spread out for you on there as well.
Do you think we could do, like, realistically? Do you think that by the end of November that we could do a half?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, like I have never in my life run more than probably like 3 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like, I know we joke about it, but like I would be down to attempt a half if we were doing it, if we had this amount of time to train. Because the only thing that I like legitimately worry about is
it's 2.5 months.
Yeah,
easy.
Is how I would do with my knee post op. Because it's fine. Running,
recovering, like, so.
Yeah, running is the only thing that's ever caused me any issues since my ACL surgery. Like biking and stuff, I'm fine, and they're like, hey, that's great therapy for it. But running on pavement was the only thing that like actually caused me some issues. So that's my apprehension to running. In all honesty, like we've joked about this on the show plenty of times, but that is the actual apprehension there. But I would be down to try a half on that weekend if it was something that we could like legitimately.
I love how we went from him not wanting to do a 5K to a half marathon, and I was gonna like maybe just go like 10K.
No, like if I'm gonna because this is something that awareness needs to be raised about. It's a great cause and something to do, and there's no reason why we shouldn't participate in it at a level that is reasonable for us. Like I think. Yeah. For me, trying to train for a marathon, having not run more than, like I said, 3 miles probably in my adult life, that's unreasonable for me to try to physically do right now. But a half marathon, I think, is something that I'm really interested in considering that. So, and maybe if they're picking 2 days, like we run half on one day, take the ice bath, and then we're like, we'll see if we can run 2 and split it into 2 days. Yeah.
So I can confidently tell you that if it's something that we actually really wanted to do, and also if we get enough people that are willing to do it with us, like whether they come here or they're like, hey, I'm going to get a group in Sacramento to run a half marathon with you guys as well.
We just Instagram live our entire half marathon.
Here's the sad thing. Codey is going to finish a full marathon with a 25-pound vest faster than I can do a half marathon.
No, yeah. I'm not even.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
He thought about it though.
Yeah,
he's like, wait, hold on.
Think about it.
I think I could do that.
Yeah.
My buddy Jordan Merritt, I posted about this.
I just saw that.
Yeah. Ran a marathon on a gas and oil platform. A little helicopter pad on a 0.08 loops.
It's crazy.
300 and something of those little loops.
30 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and his pace was unreal to be able to do that. So, so to answer your question, Lucas, yes, 100%. If it's something that we actually really wanted to commit to, we could. I mean, the Garmin watches that we have actually have programs.
I know.
So then why'd you ask a question?
But I asked if it was doable, not like if the watch had the program. Of course, I
okay.
know that they've got the programs and stuff. Like, but is it something that is a doable thing?
It's doable if we both decide we want to commit to it.
So, are we deciding that we want to commit to it?
This is called peer pressure, by the way.
No, this is how this show gets planned. This is this is our. I mean, so a full is what 26.2. 26.2. Are you calling Rob?
No.
Rojas.
Hey, just real quick before you say anything, you're on speakerphone while being recorded for the podcast.
Bro, what's up?
Are you in or are you out?
I'm in all the way.
Okay, cool. So you, Lucas, and I, at a minimum, are running a half marathon at the end of November to help raise funds and awareness for to honor those event that Codey started with Echelon Front.
So I have until then to hurt myself. No, I'm in. I'm in. I'm going to hate you and talk bad about you for a long time, but I'm in.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, bro.
Bye.
So Strauss is in. Okay,
That's how you do it.
there you
I'm
go.
in.
I'll think about it.
No. I've got sweaty palms right now.
Yeah, I mean for a half, I'm in. Yeah, I'm all for
Dude,
it.
the last time I ran a half marathon, it was in third phase of buds because that was part of one of the final things you had to do.
Like I said, the most I've run in my adult life is through. Like I've biked for 50 miles before, and it's not I wouldn't say it's not a big deal, but I've done that on multiple occasions. The idea of running more than that, like more than a 5K, to me is something that I've not even fathomed before.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
I'm kind of excited about it.
Could have started with the 10K, but whatever, Lucas.
I'm gonna have to get new shoes.
All right, Cody. Anything else to add to that program?
Yeah, only thing because the funds are going to go towards first responders, military, people that aren't able to go to a muster. Is on there. You're able to nominate someone. You can nominate yourself or nominate first responder or military. So if JP and I back in the day, I can nominate JP. I tell JP's story. That goes to a folder, and basically myself and Rob will go through that folder and we'll select people that get to go to the muster.
That's cool.
So.
That's awesome. Is it just for one muster or based off the funds what we raise? Will that be?
Yeah, it's gonna depend. Right now we have a goal, and if you go to the website, you'll see this. There's a bar on there to show the progress. But the goal is to make 10K for this, and all those are gonna go straight towards muster attendees. So depending on the seats and sold out and stuff like that. But if you get selected, you will without a doubt go to a muster in the near future.
Dude, that's incredible.
That's pretty rad.
That's awesome, man.
And all we have to do is run.
That's it. It's a half marathon.
Cool.
Awesome, Lucas.
Thanks for doing that to us.
Thanks, man.
Blaming you.
So you've been training for that. What have you been doing to mentally push yourself? Let's start with physically. What have you been doing physically to challenge yourself outside of just the normal your crazy workouts? We know you like that. It's a well-known fact of how athletic you are and how you stay in shape and you do these awesome crazy workouts. But what do you do to change it up so that you don't get complacent with that?
I think I've built the habit, and when you build the habit, it doesn't really matter what's thrown my way. I don't see myself when the habit is strong or the why is strong, complacency doesn't creep in. I have a deadline, November 23rd and 24th. That is a real why, and I have a good support system with Rob and my wife and people that want me to do this. I also have a good reason why I'm doing it. Therefore, complacency doesn't stand a chance. For me, it's not so much complacency. It's going to be the time aspect or maybe getting hurt. Those are the things I have to be aware of and consider. Training for this, I've never fully trained for a marathon before. You actually have to train for that. I told Rob, I was like, dude, I'll just show up and do it. And he's like, I would not do that. I was like, okay, I'll take your advice since you ran 31 marathons in 31 days. So I like to mix it up. So right now I do a 5-day, bodybuilding split, a full body, where every day I do almost every body part. It's pretty straightforward. And then I run 3 times a week. So typically my setup is Monday, I do intervals. I do that without my vest because it's sprint intervals. And I learned real quick when I failed every interval, like I'm missing something. I was like, oh yeah, I'm wearing a vest, so I can't do that. So for example, this week, I think it's 5.5 in intervals. You're doing different paces and stuff like that just to work on your ability to flex up and down. And then Thursday, tomorrow, awesome. I got to do another 5.6. That's just easy pace. And it's just building in the miles, working that cardio aspect. And then Saturdays are my long days. So I think last week I did 12. This week it's 13.1. So those other 2 I do with the vest. And those are a little rough because I also live in Arizona. So that is another Marine. The Marine in me decided to train for a marathon in Arizona during the summer. So that's been fun and pleasant. But I love it. I embrace it. I don't know the proper terminology. Somebody said it the other day, but like veterans, I have it for whatever reason. It's called like sought after suffering, where you miss that aspect of, the suck in the military. And now like I search for it. And, I did a lot of crazy stuff in the Marine Corps, and now I miss that aspect. And so doing stuff like this, it kind of fills that void for me.
For me, that's Jiu-Jitsu.
For me, it's Cheetos. But Jiu-Jitsu is your sought after suffering? Because you're good at Jiu-Jitsu.
I get crushed at Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, because of the classes that you choose to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get
That makes sense.
absolutely
That he chooses to go to.
crushed.
Yeah.
Like
Because like the new class has, it's like what, typically between 10 and 20 black belts that show up to that, and that's a class that you regularly attend.
Yeah. And and I just get demolished by all the purple belts and above, and a few of the blue belts too, where I'm like, cool, this is awesome. You're in your 20s, you're stronger than me, you're faster than me, your jiu-jitsu IQ is better than me, and you're just better than me in all aspects of life. And I just get crushed by blue belts occasionally, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, and for me, that's jiu-jitsu for sure, is going and knowing that I have, and it's something I actually asked for, like from my black belts, is like, hey, I want you to crush my soul when we roll. There's a time and place for teaching me, but when we're rolling, like, I want it to be war. And Anthony has answered that call every single time. It's Formiga and Trey and Ryan Kramer, Joao, James, Faulkner, like Brent, like when guys are like, bro, where'd you get that black eye from? I'm like, Brent. It was a gift from Brent because he loves me and cares about me so much that he just freaking whooped the living crap out of me. And then it was like the same thing at Origin Immersion Camp. I asked 3 of the black belts to help film some content for the new Freedom Fighter gi that Origin came out with that should be soon. It has a modified Punisher logo with the Origin symbol inside the skull.
It's
I saw
sick.
it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, it shows a picture of me and Johnny rolling. What they don't show is Johnny whooping the living crap out of me. And then Brian. And then Rob. Like, to where the point where at the end, it was all 3 of them back to back to back. Like, just do. And it was like, at the end, like, Rob was like letting me work. Like, and I ended up in a position on top because he let me get there. And they had been just destroying me and pushing me so hard where I started dry heaving in the middle of the round. And I'm like, all right, no, we're good. We're going to keep going. And I did it again. And Rob's like, okay, and we're done now. Because, like,
he didn't want it on his gear.
Yeah, but it was just like, that's what I seek out. So for somebody that's listening, that's like, man, that's awesome. I would love to be able to turn that on. I want that. I push. Like, how does somebody do that? What do you think?
I think the biggest thing is you got to start small. I think it's a lot of people want to dive in the deep end. People just want to run the marathon just to run the marathon, right? And they don't want to start off with the 1K or the 5Ks. They don't want to do the work. They just want to get to the crazy or the half. And so I think you start small. you got to find a reason why you're doing it. You know, for me, I like the challenge. I like the competitiveness of working out. I see the benefits. It builds the confidence. All these things, like, it brings a bunch of stuff to me. So why are you doing it? You have to have that huge why. But I think it's, at the end of the day, like, the best advice there is you got to start small, and you got to see the success that it brings to you. And you get those small victories that builds your confidence. And then, you know, using the marathon analogy, like, the 1K, you do the 5K, like, oh, the 5K is easy. Like, what's next? And then eventually you're doing the half K, and you're like, that's it. And then it's like, cool. And then you're freaking Andrew running 100 miles, and it's like no factor.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You got to start somewhere.
One of my best friends, Aaron Bobier, that I grew up with, you know, I think you know Aaron or remember him being around. He just decided that he's going to do a 50-mile trail run in Southern California. And so he's been training for that, and he's going to do a 100-mile trail run as well. And he's doing all these things. And I got a video from him the other morning, and he was just like, just got done running a marathon. Yep, that sucked. He like woke up at 3:30 in the morning so he could get his marathon done before he had to be up as a father to get his kids up and ready and do all that stuff for the day. It's just,
Is this the guy that did the 4 for 48 thing?
Yeah. 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Dang.
Yeah, same guy. And, you know, I was texting back and forth with him about it. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And his response was like, it's here for the taking. Like, yep, you're right. It is, which I love. I love that thought process and mindset of like, hey, man, if you want it, it's yours. Like, go out and get it. And that's what's allowed you to have the success that you've had in business and in life and in your marriage and your family. Is like, it's all in front of you. You just go out and put in the work.
Yeah.
Anything you're reading right now, studying to improve your, you know, mental capacities? Like, what are you intentional about with that aspect of growth?
Since you said mental, one thing I do to combat like the voice inside my head is whenever I'm like alluding your question initially. Mm-hmm. Whenever I don't want to run, like I'm going to run anyways. Like, I don't negotiate with myself. Jockoism, right? But whenever I don't want to run, I don't allow myself to listen to music. And the reason why is because the voice in my head gets louder, and now I'm having that internal battle with myself. Because I know, and look, the marathon, like, is it going to be hard? Sure, but it's going to last me, 4 hours, and it's going to be over. There's going to be stuff later on in life where that voice is going to be there when I don't want to do something for whatever reason. I don't want to make time with my wife.
Yeah.
Because whatever. I don't want to spend time with my kids because of whatever reason. Like, that voice is going to be there. And I want to have these internal battles on runs to where when I don't have the music, right, it's a no factor. So I know that's, I mentioned to some people, they're like, that's ridiculous. You're crazy. I was like, I mean, it's going to happen sooner or later. I'd rather prepare now than ever. So that's just a mental thing. And I've done that working out before. Like, if I'm going to do something crazy, hero watt or, 100 burpees for time, like, no music, no external. It's just, me inside my head having the conversation. Because that's, as you know, it's the mind that quits first before the body does.
Yeah. I like that. I have never done it at that extreme to where it was basically what you're doing is you're creating habits to soften that voice.
Yep.
I like that. There's times where you and I have gone and worked out or done 75 hard workouts together, and there's no music, no talking, just we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So that's good. So find something to punish yourself for having the weak thoughts that allows you to grow.
Couldn't say it better myself, yeah.
Bro, I love that. Okay. I know we're going to close it out with some final thoughts from you. But before we do that, I just want to take a time to thank all of our listeners for all the support that you guys give us by listening, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. I know you guys found value from this episode. I know I did. I know Lucas did. So do us a favor and share it with somebody. The more you guys share the podcast, the better the growth is, the better the reach is. And ultimately, that was the intentions behind us starting this podcast, is because we knew it was going to be taking a lot of time and resources and commitment to do this podcast and stick to it. We're a year in. We've had an episode come out every Friday. We're doing the YouTube exclusive videos to provide more content because of the feedback that we get, of the positive impacts that it's had because of God's blessing with this podcast. We know that God's blessed this podcast, and we just want to make sure that that is always the driving force behind doing this podcast. So if you found value, which I know you guys did, from anything and everything that Codey said tonight, just share it with somebody. That'd be awesome. Copy, paste, send it out. And if you are subscribed to us on YouTube, you can be notified when our YouTube exclusive episodes come out. So I hope that you guys are able to having access to that. If you want to follow us on social media, I'm at JP Dinnell. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard. That's LucaspiNckard. Codey is at Codey.Gandy. That's CODEY.GANDY. Make sure you're also checking out the To Honor Those event by going to echelonfront.com. Click on the events tab, scroll down to the event, and click on it for more information and to get yourself signed up. Speaking of Echelon Front, make sure you're following us on social media. If you want to learn more about what we do outside of that event, just go to echelonfront.com. The website is awesome, has all of our future events, links that give you access to the different types of training that we provide, all those programs. So we appreciate all the support that you guys give to Echelon Front. If you want to have Codey come work with your company, or to do strategic alignment coaching calls with you, that's something we offer. Also, make sure you guys check out Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. It's a ministry that I'm a part of. Go to @JesusandJiu-Jitsu_USA. We have a podcast that has episodes that come out every Tuesday. We're doing different events about once every 4 to 6 weeks. We start off with a free Jiu-Jitsu seminar. Somebody shares their testimony, and then we open it up to some awesome training with the open mats. Also partnered with a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. Our website is littlecattle.co. We can deliver anywhere in the lower 48 states. We are a custom order beef company that allows you to order exactly what you want each time based off the needs of you and your family and or friends as you guys are getting together to make some good quality time, as we learned from Codey. Be intentional with that time. We also have a ground beef subscription plan that's pretty popular. I know Lucas is on that.
Mm-hmm.
And
getting that Apex Predator batch every now and then.
You
Those
like it?
Really good.
Yeah. That we're testing the market with that.
Yeah.
So it's a pound of ground beef, and 80% of that pound is the Little Cattle Co. beef, ground beef that we have, and the other 20% is the liver, kidneys, and heart. So those essential organs that you get all the nutrients from, and it's blended in with their other ground beef. So you're not tasting it. You know, that's the biggest thing that people don't eat liver, kidney, and heart with, even though it's super beneficial for your health and recovery.
It's rubbery. Don't like the taste.
Yeah, they just don't like the taste, the smell of it. But when it's mixed in with the other ground beef, like zero issue. Like you could cook it in spaghetti for your kids and they'd have zero clue.
Yep.
So,
Dang. Okay.
yeah. Crazy nutritional values. That's the Apex Predator blend. So
I like it.
Also, we have our beef sticks that just launched.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Regular flavor, jalapeno flavor. We have the beef tallow products, include the body butter. Your wife is all about the beef tallow products.
I ordered it, and then she ordered it, and we didn't talk about it, and we got 2 orders. I was like, oh, we're on the same page.
That's awesome.
That's alignment.
Little cool thing is all the women's assembly attendees will be getting a little free sample.
Oh, nice.
Of that. Yeah. The lip balm, tallow cream, body butter. Yeah, it's all awesome. Getting really good feedback from it. If you want to be a wholesaler for the beef sticks and or the beef tallow products, send an email to amanda@littlecattle.co. And also, we can send custom orders to customers, friends, family members as a gift from you. We'll include a specialized note in there as well if you need it. So just let us know how we can serve you and your family. Appreciate all the support you guys have been giving us. It's been awesome to see the company grow and expand and just get to a point where it's just, I don't know, it's just awesome. Like when you have people that are sending pictures and feedback on social media and they're like, this is a game changer. Like Robin and her husband Dave are our best clients by far, by how much they consistently order. And Robin travels a lot for work, and she went to one of the top steakhouses in Vegas, and she's like, it was good, but doesn't compare to Little Cattle Co. steaks.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty cool feedback to hear that. Also, I'm a partner with a printing company called On the Path Printing. On Instagram, we are at on the Path Printing. You just send us a message there, let us know what's going on, and we'll see if we're a good fit for your apparel printing needs. Also, make sure you guys check out Bruiser Arms. It's a company Jocko Leif and I have. It's a training and gear company. We are at Bruiser Arms on Instagram, and send us a message, and we will be putting out some content in the near future as we are able to make some of the training programs that we're working on a priority. So also want to take the time to thank Origin and Jocko Fuel. What they have been doing as a company is absolutely incredible. If you want to get some of the best jiu-jitsu gear and regular clothes that are made 100% here in America, go to originusa.com, go to jockofuel.com to get your supplements and those clean energy drinks. Cody, what closing thoughts do you have, bud?
Hopefully people stay with us to get to the closing thought. Here's the big idea. This is a little off topic from what I talked about, but I just worked with Western Michigan football. I've been working closely with the team, the coaches, the coaching staff specifically, and something I mentioned to the team, and I started to talk about this a lot, is just the situation that you're in. And I think regardless of the situation that you're in, from a work standpoint, family standpoint, like, I don't care the context, there's two ways you have to look at it. You're either thankful and grateful, and or you should be motivated by where you're at. And why I say that is, you and I, all of us, we know people that are extremely successful from a financial standpoint, family standpoint, etc., and they take it for granted, and then they lose it. Vice versa, I know a lot of people that, are in a poor position, and they use that as motivation to get themselves out, and they turn their life around. The opposite of that one is people that are, in the dumps in life from a relationship or whatever, is they play that victim mentality. And look, I'm not to take away what people go through. Look, sometimes people are victims, but a victim mentality is you're waiting for someone or something to solve your problem for you.
Yes.
And that's not the reality of life. Like, I have the worst day of my life today. A lot of people aren't going to care. Mm-hmm. That's the unfortunate reality of what's going on. Nobody wakes up and calls me and is like, hey, I'm here to solve all your problems. So I think regardless of what you're going through, and most people listen to your podcast for advice, either be thankful for what you got, or let what you have motivate you to move on to, greener pastures, or to do something else. So that's been something I've been talking about lately. Just a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on, and it's just about the perspective that you can change, the mindset shift. That's what it's all about to get you out of there.
Awesome.
Right on, man. I got somebody that I want to thank, hitting 1 year of the podcast.
Okay.
So first, thanks you for bringing me onto this. This might be my last episode because you might kill me because I did something for you, and you hate when that happens. I hollered at our friends over at Half Face Blades, and got you a little something as to commemorate 1 year of the podcast. So that's a little piece. I had to talk with Andy to figure out what knives you didn't have, and if you look right there on the spine, we got a little etching there that they hooked us up with. So congrats on hitting 1 year. Please don't stab me with that. It's taken a lot of effort to keep that secret. So, but yeah. So big thanks to the folks over at Half Face Blades for hooking it up for our first anniversary of the podcast.
Bro. Dude.
Yeah.
I love you, buddy. Thank you. That's incredible.
That's awesome.
I got you a gift card to Golden Corral.
Sweet. I'll use it as soon as I'm done with 75 hard. I'll eat all the cupcakes that Cody left at the
Bro.
I was gonna say you gave him a knife, and then you made him sign up for a half marathon. Like, that's not a fair trade.
That's kind of how our relationship works.
These knives are unreal.
Yeah, they're absolutely. I mean, they're artwork. They're just absolute pieces of art.
Insane.
So, there you go, dude.
Bro. Well,
don't stab yourself.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
my man. This would not have been a reality if it wasn't for you. Honestly, I know we talked about that at the beginning of us doing this podcast, and I'd for years had entertained the idea. I had different people say that I should do it, but there was a missing piece. and that missing piece was you, Lucas. When we first met doing the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, I was like, oh, okay. And then as we developed the relationship and the friendship, when I understood like what you were capable of, that's when I was like actually starting to entertain the idea. Because until like that, it's like, okay, cool, sounds good, but I'm not going to take the time to learn how to do what's needed for a podcast. It would never be a priority. And it's just really cool the relationship we've been able to develop over the years, but now the year of doing this podcast. And it's awesome, man. And I appreciate you. I love you, brother. I appreciate your family, love your family. And it's been awesome just to receive some of the feedback that we've received of people, that have given their lives to Christ, that are now going to church or, following your church online, or, it's been incredible of what God has done with this podcast, and, just remaining true to what we talked about. And, you always going above and beyond to execute things at a very high level. I appreciate it. And it gives us this platform to drive impact and to grow the kingdom and to provide value. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. You just didn't find the right person to be able to irritate you the way that I do in the first few years of the podcast. Nobody else could come up with a line like Cheetos.
That is true. That is true.
Oh, man. On that note, as Lucas starts training for his half marathon.
Oh, this is a bad idea.
I hope this episode has been an awesome and a great reminder for you to go out there, do the work that's needed, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 52.